Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it happens to be as you're listening to this. Welcome back for another episode of Kanan's Cadence, the show where I talk about my interests, hobbies, and experiences at my own pace with my own rhythm. Hope everyone's been doing well throughout December at this point in time. We're getting closer and closer to all the holidays at this point. Christmas is, at the time of recording, 2 weeks from today being December 11th. I myself am still hard pressed trying to come up with gift ideas for my family. I always struggle when it comes to this sort of thing. I realize it's getting harder every year that passes. It could be a couple of things, like either the things that I might have, like as an idea that I could get for any of them. Either I just completely blank on them because heaven forbid I actually write down the things that my family expressed interest in. B, it could be that the things that I'm considering getting for them, they actually already have in some way or another. So I gotta try and figure out another avenue. Or C, it could just be that like I take too long thinking about certain things, and when I come up with an idea, there's no time for me to actually get the thing. Whether I'm ordering it or if I'm trying to buy it in store, most likely it's going to be sold out at this point in time. I know for certain that I'm not the only one who has this struggle. It's the same for everyone, but then it's also different for everyone. Like one way or another, like everyone shares the same experiences, but then their experiences are still very much their own when it comes to the holidays. So all that to say, I love this time of year, but I hate it at the same time because it always just feels like so much pressure, so much stress, and realistically, it should just be. It's a season of giving. Like you're not supposed to think too hard about it, but I think that we all collectively think really, really hard about this stuff. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people disagree with me, but I think that everyone just collectively thinks too hard about the actual material. Like, okay, well, what can I give to this person? It doesn't need to be anything grandiose, and I feel like some of my best gifts that I've given have been when I just remind myself of that. It just always takes me a ways into December every single year to come up with something that will be good to give to them, or is like satisfactory to my heart. I want to say for me to actually go and buy it for them, and then of course like the timing and all that type of stuff. If I can't purchase it in store, got to order it, and as we get further along, ordering stuff becomes way harder if you're trying to get it by the time that the holidays actually fall on that day. So hopefully things have been a bit smoother for everyone else out there. Again, like I struggle with this stuff every single year. It doesn't change for me. But one way or another, I will still figure out my own way of getting what needs to be gotten from my family. And then again, 2 weeks time, Christmas will be here. Then after that, it'll be time to just start prepping for next year, I guess. So, um, anyway, as far as like prepping for next year goes, I have something that's coming up in just a few weeks at this point in time, which kind of leads me to what I want to talk about today. And I say like, it's next year, like it's a month from now, but it's still like the start of next year. I'm going to Disney World. First time in what will be close to 14 years that I will be going to Disney World. I've mentioned, I think, in at least one previous episode that I have this trip set up around the time of my birthday, like towards the middle of January. I'm going with two very, very good friends of mine, Ash and Matt. We're going all on our trip to Disney World. I had pitched the idea to them. Each of them was like really quick to be like, yeah, let's do it. Why not? So that's just been a budding idea that's been coming, that's like quickly coming up on us at this point. It's kind of crazy. This was back in like, I want to say very end of September, maybe early October that the idea had kind of sparked. And now at as I'm thinking about it, wow, just looking at the calendar, yeah, like we're supposed to leave a month from today, I believe. So that's really something to look forward to. But my goodness, there's a lot that I've got to say on that. Before that, though, just really quick, I wanted to touch upon this because I mentioned it in, I think, the last two episodes. Something that I wanted to devote an episode to was this concept of quote unquote DisneyCember, which again, I will say for like the millionth time, pulled from Doug Walker, aka the Nostalgia Critic, where he has this thing that he does every single year where he'll put up like a short review of something having to do with Disney, not necessarily just movies like he typically does. It could be TV shows, it could be shows that aren't exactly Disney, but like kind of related to Disney. It could be video games at this point too. Um, I picked up the idea myself a couple years ago. I was like, oh, there's a lot of stuff Disney related that I haven't seen, and I think that that'd be fun, giving myself the challenge of going through December watching a single film every single day. I did it last year, I did it the year before, and so here we are, 2025. So where am I at with that this year? Long story short, I shelved the idea 1 week ago. I tried, I really, really tried because I had so much fun doing this the last 2 years, in spite of the fact that it just takes up so much time that I already don't really have. I had to like basically find a way to make free time so that I could fit a movie into every single day throughout December. And again, like it was fun. It was fun, and I wanted to have fun with it this year as well, but really just the easiest explanation as to why I decided to just shelf the idea was that I don't have the time. And it's like so super simple. It's like, okay, well, I had the time last year. I made the time last year in 2023, 2 years ago. Why can't I make the time this year? Simply put, my work schedule. Like that's really what it boils down to this time around. The last 2 years, I was working at Target during December, and the bulk of my shifts were ending maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Nowadays, I have my shifts ending. I want to say maybe 5 o'clock at the earliest, with 8 o'clock being the latest, and trying to work in time either before going in for a shift or especially after going in for a long shift and being shot from that day, trying to make time to watch what is a randomized movie at that because I'm a lunatic, set it to a randomizer. Um, I just couldn't find a way to do that comfortably this year. Not to mention that again, like 3 years in, I had now at this point seen somewhere between like 50 and 60 films, and then like a mishmash of like some shorts and maybe a couple documentaries in there, like thrown in the last 2 Decembers. A lot of stuff that is hailed as like classics, new or old, in terms of like just classic Disney, quote unquote. And so, like, for this year, I was kind of struggling to even come up with ideas of what to watch. So I remember I spent probably at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half, Disney Plus back in October, I think, just coming up with ideas of what I could do for this month um, in 2025. And a lot of the stuff that I came up with was stuff that I was either A, not familiar with at all, B, partly familiar with, but never had like the full interest to like look more into it, or C, stuff that I kind of figured that I wouldn't enjoy in general, but like would still kind of have fun watching just based on the fact that I could have some like pleasant reactions to the like what the hell is going on nature of those films and stuff. But for that reason, because there weren't really any films on this list that I was like really really eager for, coupled with the fact that I just didn't have the time to do it anyway, I was like, you know what? Um, why should I try to force this year? Better for me to stop after 4 days worth this month than to try and keep it going and then feel like I want to quit by the middle of the month and yet still want to keep going because it's the middle of the month. So I really didn't want to do that. I just decided, just you know what, let's put this behind me for this year. Maybe I'll come back around to it next year, or if I happen to have more time at some other point, I'll do it again. But for right now, I'm just like, all right, well, that's it for me using this month to watch a bunch of Disney related stuff. I can do that at any point in the year. It doesn't have to just be throughout December, and it doesn't have to be every single day because my goodness, that's hard to do. I don't know how I did it the last 2 years. But anyway, so that's all that I really want to say on that. But just as an idea, again, why I've brought it up the last couple weeks and then still have not made an episode dedicated to it, that would be why, because I decided, you know what, I'm not doing it this year, not anymore. So I wanted to talk, actually focusing this week on previous Disney trips that I've had, since I'm on the subject of Disney anyway. Um, as I said before, this trip that I have coming up in about a month is going to be the first time I'll be at Disney World in close to 14 years. Last time that I went, I had just finished up with middle school. I was entering my freshman year of high school. I was 14, and I was with my dad and my older brother. I remember that trip for a number of reasons. And unfortunately, like though I remember having a good time, I also remember a good amount of things from that trip that just weren't the greatest. For one thing, when we went, it was just off the heels, because this is Disney World in Orlando, just off the heels of either a hurricane or a tropical storm that had just passed over Florida. And so I want to say like 60% of the entirety of Disney World was basically flooded out. Like there was a lot of water everywhere. A lot of the rides were shut down. A lot of the attractions were shut down. A lot of stuff just in general that could have been more fun was made kind of lesser because of just the obscene humidity. This was also in, I think, July of 2012. So yeah, it was really really hot. All the water in the air and like on the ground made it like immensely humid, so it was just uncomfortable. I remember I didn't own shorts for some reason, shorts that I would want to wear outside anyway, so I was walking around in this like incredibly muggy and just damp environment wearing jeans and all that type of stuff, and that made it even more uncomfortable. And yeah, so there was a lot of that type of stuff. Again, like good things happened. Like I remember like we got there, my mom had planned the trip, so like we have like a whole itinerary. The first day that we get there, we go to Epcot for like the fireworks show and dinner and all that type of stuff. And I remember that that was fun. It was the first time I got to try fish and chips. I'd never really wanted to try fish and chips, but in the World Showcase, I decided, you know what, like that's on the menu. It looks appealing. I'll try it, and I really liked it. That's why I have like that's like a fond memory of mine from when I was young. And it's like it's a little thing, but it stuck with me. I remember that, and like the fireworks show itself was really cool. Um, I remember going to Animal Kingdom. I think the first full day of our trip because we were staying at the Animal Kingdom Lodge. That was the first sign for me that like the trip was going to be fun, but it was going to be like kind of missing something. And it was because like I went there, I remember like I immediately got soaked from one of the water rides when I wasn't even on the ride, mind you. It was just like I happened to be passing, I got soaked by like a log flume or something like that. And it being so hot, it being so humid, and me wearing jeans made it so that these jeans now were going to be soaked until I had a chance to actually properly dry them. And they were a couple of the pairs of jeans that I had for the entire trip, so I had to make them work. And this was like the first full day of the trip, so like that wasn't exactly fun. And then there's just a couple other things that I remember. We went a few days in. We went to the Phantasmic show, and that was awesome. Like that was a spectacle. I remember seeing that and like really, really enjoying the whole thing. So it's like positive thing right there. But then I also remember afterwards, and I can't remember, it was probably just me being stupid, angsty teenager, whatever it was. I remember getting into an argument with my older brother shortly after that show, and that kind of bled into the following day. Like I went through the rest of the night, like kind of like upset with him, and then started the next day upset as well, still, and trying to, but still trying to have fun as much as I could. But I remember again as a teen, I was like, oh, I don't want to talk to my brother, but I'll talk to my dad who wants us both to talk. And that was making my dad feel awkward because he was like, well, now I'm kind of caught between my two sons and I don't know why. Um, so it was that. And then like, again, like just that day in particular, I remember we had the Magic Kingdom and we didn't get to do anything in Magic Kingdom. Like everything was shut down because of the storm that had just passed over. It was really, really bad timing for me to be there from what I remember. The like the one good thing that happened in Magic Kingdom that day, I remember, which was it's again like a little thing, but it stuck with me as just like funny. Um, the one ride that was operational in Magic Kingdom was Space Mountain, and so everyone, not just us, but everyone was like, okay, well, if this is the only ride that's operational, that means that this is the ride that we got to go on, so that we don't have to have a wasted day or something like that. And so I remember us waiting on this line, and it's the queue is hours long, of course, because of just the number of people and like the wait time and all that. So we're waiting and waiting for a long time, and like there was this group of guys like in front of us that I remember like them all just like messing about and just like joking while they're waiting on this line. And then from what I remember, if it's still this way, I don't know. I'm just trying to remember. There was like this part of the queue line where we were kind of like on a conveyor, and it pulled us by like some like cameras where you could just like make a face or do whatever pose to take a picture, and you would get that picture at the end of it. So I remember these guys like all like they're all like talking to each other and like laughing and whatever, and like they're on this conveyor, and then like they all like kind of like formed up like a plan on the conveyor floor where they're as they're going by the camera, like there's like big smiles and laughs that they had going on, like they all just completely like replaced those with like the most deadpan serious looks as they just stared into the camera, just froze staring. And then immediately after the picture was taken, they just immediately went back to the way that they were acting. So I always remember that because that was really really funny for me to witness. I remember talking about it with my brother for kind of like the next years to come because he thought it was just as funny. um But then again, like one good thing followed by a not so good thing. Before we even had a chance to ride the ride, also I'll say like when I was a kid, especially, it's changed recently. But when I was a kid, I really didn't want to get on roller coasters. Like the idea of them just made me uncomfortable. I was never like a thrill ride type person or a thrill seeker, anything like that. Um, I didn't know Space Mountain was a roller coaster until maybe like an hour into this wait. I don't know what I thought it would have been, but a roller coaster, I didn't think that. My dad, he was the one to tell me after we were already waiting for an hour. I think he waited that long because he knew I wouldn't want to do it if I knew it was a roller coaster. That's just how it was for me back then. So I remember when I heard that, like initially, like I was kind of like nervous because I was like, oh man, I don't like getting on roller coasters. Like they make me uncomfortable and stuff. But I was also like, this is the only ride that's functioning. This is our second to last day in Disney World in general. So I gotta get on it. Like I'll use this as an opportunity to just like get over whatever like fear or discomfort I have of roller coasters and just enjoy my time with my dad and my brother. And so before we get on the ride, we're waiting for like an hour and a half. Ride breaks down, and everyone in the queue has to get off. And we're just like, you gotta be kidding me. So we didn't even get to go on the one and only ride that was operational in that particular park that day. Um, Beyond that, I don't remember much else from my experience in Disney World in 2012. And again, like if it's not clear enough, there are plenty of reasons why. Because like from just like the storm, like making it so that like we hardly had anything to do. That's not to say there was nothing to do. I remember doing a couple things, like we did like Soarin' that year, and that was fun. We did man, I'm blanking. It was some sort of like Star Wars experience, like this like 4D type ride that we got to do. That was really cool. I remember that. We did like a Toy Story themed one. That was also really cool. So like there were things that got to happen. And beyond that, just getting to walk around the parks, like go around like the World Showcase at Epcot and like get a bunch of like cool souvenirs and stuff like that. I remember I did have fun, and I look back fondly on that trip, even if I can also be like, well, there was a lot of stuff that didn't really work. There was a lot of stuff that still just made me pleasantly remember the trip as like, okay, well, it was cool to get to do that with my brother and my dad, especially because by the point of that trip, and I hadn't said this yet, 2012, that was when we went on that trip. The time before that I was at Disney World or even Disneyland, I was 3 years old. This was in 2001. My family, we went to both Disney World and Disneyland at separate points that year. And so, just in total, at this point in time, I've only been to Disney World twice, and I've been to Disneyland once, so that's a grand total of three times. And it's been so long that at this point, I honestly don't even know what to expect anymore. There are several things that I'm really looking forward to. I want to say, I just don't know what to expect. Like, it's got to be a completely different experience than anything that I've had before. Twice as a toddler, once as a like an early teenager, and now I'm pushing 30, and I'm going for like the fourth total time that I'm going to a Disney theme park in my life. I don't know what to expect at this point, but like that also kind of makes it more exciting for me as I think about it. There are so many things that I know are in Disney World that I've known about for so many years, and all that I've been able to do is just live vicariously through others who have gone themselves. My family have gone to Disney several times, and like I always make the joke where I'm just like, "Oh, you guys would choose to go without me." It's not even that they chose to go without me. It's that the times that they would go, I was either A, away at college, so I just wasn't around to be able to go with them, or B, I was completely unavailable because of work, or maybe it was even C, we needed someone at home to be able to take care of the stuff at home, like our dogs or my grandmother when she was with us and such. We needed someone around to be able to do these things while everyone else was gone. So we couldn't all just collectively go at the same time, which made it kind of a shame, but I was always the one who would be like, well, I mean, I have these things going on, so I can't go either way. And is not without, and I'm like, and I've decided, like, over the last few years, like, I would always make the joke. I'm just like, oh, yeah, they never bring me with them. I'm just like, it's not that. And I don't want it to seem like it's that way because my family, like, they more than anything want me to be able to go on these types of trips. And they'd love for me to go with them. It's just I haven't been able to. So I'm not going to make it seem like they deliberately leave me out of it. It's just things never lined up the proper way. And so for the last few years, I've been like, okay, well, I really want to go to Disney at some point. I just don't know when. I don't know how I'm going to afford it, and I don't know who I'm going to go with. Is the like those three things were like the critical things. Um, a couple of years ago, my mom would pitch the idea of me going with my girlfriend at the time. And I would pitch that idea to her as well, just as like, hey, yeah, like, would you want to do something like that? And she would be like, yeah. And then, like, the idea just never, ever came up again. And like it wasn't, I'm not gonna pin that all entirely on her. Like a lot of it was because of like my own apprehension to go at risk of just other things that I won't get into is the thing. But so I was like, I don't want to go with her. I have friends that I would like to go with, but like I just never know when they're going to be available, or I never know when we're going to line up with our availabilities and stuff like that. And then the most critical thing for me was always just like, hey, I don't know where I'm going to get the money for it. I don't know how I'm going to comfortably be able to put aside the money for this trip because Disney World is expensive. Like my god, like just booking the actual travel details and stuff like that. Like I knew that it was going to be costly. I just didn't know that it was going to be as much as it was. Like if I tried to go 2 or 3 years ago, like there would have been no way. Like I needed to actually take the time to make sure, hey, I can comfortably do this because of XYZ, whatever it is, and then just make sure that even after I've already put down a deposit or something, that I know what I'm doing and I'm going to be able to pay it back later on after the trip has already taken place. And luckily, this time around, I don't see it being any type of problem. That's why I was like so eager. Well, I won't say that's why. Like, oh yeah, I have the money for it, so I'm gonna do it. Like, that's not the only thing. The other reason is just that, as I've said in previous episodes, I need to just do more things for fun. Like, I work a little too much and a little too hard certain points. I've gotten that for my entire life. People who don't even know me all that well will even tell me that when they start to get to know me, even just briefly is a thing. I've heard it from family, I've heard it from friends, coworkers, colleagues, peers, whatever it is. Like people always say, they're just like, dude, you are such a hard worker. And I will always say, I'm like, it's to a detriment. Like it really is to a fault at certain points. Like I would love to be able to like slow myself down and just do more things that'll like help me to like chill out a bit more. Those Lindsey Sterling concerts, those trips that I went on, like those were large parts of why I've been more and more eager to do this sort of stuff more often is the thing. As I've gone into that stuff before, and this trip that I have coming up next month is like kind of the next step for that. Because like I spent a whole episode just talking about like solo trips that I've gone on. I haven't been on a group trip in, oh my goodness, like outside of mandatory stuff when I was in college, so like that type of stuff doesn't even count. Um or just like the brief day trips and stuff with like friends or family or something like that. I haven't gone on like a proper group trip since I graduated high school. And that is pushing 10 years ago at this point. Like that's a long time to just not go on like any type of like trip here and there, I want to say. Like one that's like extensive with multiple people and all that type of stuff. I'm not really familiar with how these types of things even go nowadays because things are really really different, and it's weird saying that. It's just things are different from how they were when I used to do this type of stuff. And I've never gone on a lengthy trip like this with anyone who wasn't family, because that's the thing. Like that trip after high school, it was a cruise with my family. I did go on a couple of like short trips to see a couple bands in concert with my brother a year after that, but again, that was with my brother, and that was only for maybe like 2 or 3 days at a time. Like this trip is going to span a week, and it's going to be with two of my very best friends. Like that's something that I really look forward to. But again, like I haven't been on a trip like this as an adult. Like it just has not happened. So there's a lot that I'm kind of just waiting to see, like, okay, well, how is this actually going to go? How's it going to be with this group? I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Like we have our banter, and the idea of that for a week is both intoxicating and intimidating, and I'm really excited for it. Is the thing. So I'm really looking forward to that. But I'm anticipating it also just like really furthering my drive to just do more and more stuff like this more frequently, like not making it like every 14 to 15 years of my life I'll go on a trip like this, or like even once a year doing like the solo trip thing that I've been doing. Like I want to make this more regular. Like it's just like a goal of mine to actually get this stuff more consistent so that I can go more places, especially as like I've continued to talk. Like last week I spoke about my photography and like how that's been advancing. Like I'm really eager to bring my camera with me on this trip and like get some really nice shots with a camera that's not just my phone in a completely different location, a completely different environment than what I'm used to. And again, with friends by my side. So again, like I feel like this trip is really going to further my drive to do this type of stuff more consistently. And so again, like the countdown is on at this point. Like I said, like a month or so from today is when we're going to be leaving, and we shall see how it goes. Like it's crazy that the time has even like moved this quickly. It's gotten away from me a bit, and I only just finished paying off the entire trip, or paying down, like putting down the actual deposit on the trip is what I should say. Um, that's what I finished up with, and so now it's gotten real. I'm just like, all right, well, we're at that point. Let's just start getting everything set. Make sure I know what I'm taking with me. Get my packing going. Probably once the holidays are done, and I will have plenty to say on that trip once it's already taken place. With all that said, I'm going to wrap things up here. Been rambling for again close to a half hour at this point. Um, so I'm gonna just wish everyone well. Hope that everyone's again holiday season, like everything's going smoothly enough, like as smooth as things can go at the very least. I myself am going to spend some more time today trying to come up with some finalized gift ideas and what I can actually do for my family. And again, like in a couple weeks' time, we'll actually be at that point talking about like Christmas in particular. So that's for a couple weeks down the road. As for right now, thanks so much again for listening, as always, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Take care.